It's the first Sunday of the Advent season, the beginning of the church year. And each year at the beginning, I find myself in full avoidance mode. Ugh, it's Advent. That's because I don't want to pay attention to the messages of doom and gloom that come at the very end and the very beginning of the church year. A couple weeks ago, we heard in Luke's gospel about wars and rumors of wars and the expectation of persecution and betrayal for the followers of Jesus. In today's gospel, it doesn't get any better. We hear of an event called the coming of the Son of Man. Jesus compares this coming or arrival to a flood that catches people unawares and sweeps them away, and to a thief breaking into a house. The passage also depicts a surprise catastrophe where death is random and one is taken and the other left. And what is Jesus' advice in the face of such circumstances? Keep awake, therefore, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. If this is what the coming of Jesus brings, I am happy for him to postpone his visit. Every year, similar warnings characterize this theme of the first Sundays in Advent. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they have a name for this. It's called the Olivet Discourse. They all do the same thing, and he's on the Mount of Olives, which is important. Matthew, Mark, Luke all portray Jesus prophesying to his disciples that a great time of testing and tribulation will come upon them. His prophecies speak of this being the time when the great temple in Jerusalem would be destroyed. On the Mount of Olives, you can look down onto the temple. He says to the incredulous disciples, "Not one stone will be left upon another. It will all be rubble." And within a generation of Jesus' death and resurrection, his prediction did tragically come true. Perhaps it's not surprising that Jesus could see that any uprising against the Romans by his people would lead to brutal reprisal. And when the Jewish rebellion did come, it was met with the devastation of Jerusalem and the complete destruction of the temple. It was historic, epic, and catastrophic. It was like the stock market crash, Pearl Harbor, and 9/11 all rolled into one. And like so many of the prophets before him, Jesus borrows cosmic imagery to capture the momentous nature of what is coming. Just before today's gospel, he says, "There will be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, and on earth distress among nations. People will faint for fear and foreboding of what is coming upon the world, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken." Jesus is borrowing this language from several of the Hebrew prophets, and you will find similar images in Isaiah, Amos, Ezekiel, and others. These images are similar because this is the way the prophets convey life and world-changing events that are to befall Israel. 600 years before Jesus, Isaiah used cosmic language to prepare his people for the invading Babylonian army and their long years of exile. Some 300 years later, the book of Daniel did the same to help make sense of the Seleucid or Greek conquest of Israel. These will be the days when the earth stands still, the sun goes dark. These will be the days when all will seem lost and that life as we know it has ended for good. But Jesus adds something else into the mix. He says, "Stay awake, be alert, watchful, and ready, for the Son of Man is coming like a thief in the night." What is it that we are to be waiting and watching for? Where's the hope? The phrase Jesus repeats in our gospel reading is that the Son of Man is coming. The Son of Man, that's a reference to the book of Daniel and Daniel's heavenly vision. In his vision, Daniel depicts threatening beasts representing the empires of his day. And then he depicts someone who is stronger. He writes, "Behold, with the clouds of heaven there came one like a son of man, and he came to the Ancient of Days and was presented before him. To him was given dominion and glory, that all peoples and nations and languages should serve him, and his kingdom shall not be destroyed." According to Daniel, the beastly empires will be overthrown by the true sovereign of the world, the Son of Man. So Daniel gives us one way to interpret what Jesus means when he speaks of his coming. But in this case, his coming is not his arrival on earth, at least not yet. Instead, in Daniel's vision, the Son of Man arrives in the heavens. This, in part, signifies that his suffering and death are being vindicated through his ascension to the right hand of God. And it is at the right hand that Jesus will receive all power and authority. So if we apply this understanding of the coming of Jesus as his coming into his heavenly glory, it alters how we interpret the disaster that will befall Israel. At the very moment that all seems lost, when yet again catastrophe is imminent, Jesus says to his disciples, "Stay alert and watch for me. Keep your hope intact. What seems like an end is also a beginning. When all appears lost, wait to see what will be gained, for I am truly sovereign of all." So, what was gained after the destruction of Jerusalem? Surely this was a terrible human disaster and one that echoes through the centuries. And yet, even so, from the very ashes and rubble, a new form of Judaism arose. The surviving Jews radically rewrote the practices of their faith. There were no more sacrifices to offer at a great temple. Now connection to Yahweh came through prayer, Torah study, and almsgiving, and was centered in the home and the local synagogue. And what of Rome's brutal army? Within just a few generations, the empire itself would be conquered, not by another army, but through conversion. The great example being the Emperor Constantine's conversion in the year 313. Now, I don't want to be glib here, the equivalent of patting your hand and saying, in the face of suffering, everything's going to work out. But I do believe that these are historic instances of unforeseen beginnings when all seemed lost. And maybe there's more to hope for than a sovereign Jesus in the heavens bending the arc of history, though that's okay, it's good. Is there something we can hope for even more than that? I mean, not only a sovereign Jesus high up in the heavens, but also what we're used to understanding from these readings, the second coming, where God's kingdom comes in all its fullness. The hope for the coming kingdom is expressed beautifully in the prophetic visions of Isaiah. I am using a reading today with the kids. I used a reading today with the kids at the 9:15 service entitled "Operation No More Tears." It's taken from a children's Bible that weaves together scriptures from Isaiah. Passages like today's reading, where we hear Isaiah's vision of many peoples and nations streaming to Jerusalem to learn the ways of God. They beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks, and they study war no more. It's a beautiful passage. And here's more from Isaiah from the kids' service. This is about God's special servant. And one day, when he comes back to rule forever, the mountains and the trees will dance and sing for joy. The earth will shout out loud. everything sad will come untrue. Even death is going to die, and he will wipe away every tear from every eye. Yes, the rescuer will come. Look for him, watch for him, wait for him. He will come, I promise. Now that's an Advent reading. It's a message that I want to soak into our kids' hearts as part of their understanding of Jesus and the scriptures and what it means to hope. One day, everything sad will come untrue. I know that this is something even our preschool age kids long for. One little boy from the 9:15 service was coping with the sudden death of a friend. In trying to make meaning out of this loss, he told his mother, "I think when Annie died, she closed her eyes and she could only see all the good things from her life with her all at once. I think that is what it's like to die." I think this thoughtful little boy is also ready to hear the message from Isaiah. The message about what we all hope and long for, a time of no more tears. Isaiah teaches us to hope for a new heaven and earth where every tear is wiped away and death itself is nothing to fear. Every year on the first Sunday of Advent, whether it is the year for Matthew, Mark, or Luke, you will hear about wars and catastrophes or stars falling from the sky. Every year we begin with the end of life as we know it, and it is not comforting. It's so easy to be Advent avoidant. But Advent is also about lighting candles in the dark. It's about waiting and watching for signs of hope. And our hope is in the ascended one, the Lord of all, the Son of Man, who will return to bring about a new heaven and a new earth, a time when everything sad will come untrue. So, Jesus, maybe I don't want you to postpone your second coming after all. In fact, I now hope you will bring it on very soon. Amen.